Okay, I'm back. Now with video. Weird night, y'all. Um, Not sure if anybody's still around, but we're going to continue on because I want to make some progress on this project. So if you're catching this as part 2 of the stream for tonight, awesome. So I'm going to make the content of my resource report a little bit more realistic and then work from that. Maybe then write a unit test to prove that it works, to get some coverage. And then what would be after that? I guess the thing after that would be to put it into the bundle, the proper name and stuff. That's maybe more than we'll get done tonight. So we've got a resource report. Here is a long title with a bunch of stuff, more details. Okay. So there's a couple there. We need to see, we also need another course. That has some resources. So let's add a resource, a math book, learning calculus in 2nd grade is fun. I don't know. Just need to make sure that there's some spacing between courses. I imagine, again, I stole a lot of this initially from the resource report that shows up on this page, and there is appropriate spacing when I do that. With any luck, it'll be similar when I render it again. So let's try that. Let's get rid of this and this. Now let's come over here and generate a new resource report. Open it up. Oh, cool. That is super exciting. It looks tolerable. There's some weird spacing here, like I can immediately see some reason there's like this some odd indenting that's happening, but I don't care. I don't think it matters. I think like what a teacher cares about is that all of this information is included. They want to know, does it have their student? Does it have the grade? Does it have the year? Does it have the courses? And then all of the resources that were there. I guess we could do a bunch of these to make sure that it goes onto page 2. Maybe that's the one other thing that we want to do to test this out, but we could just do some simple resources to kind of pad this out. So let's add some more resources. Let's add a new one. We'll just call this 2. You don't even need just details. They just need to be blocks that I'll put stuff in. 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be enough to push the page down. Might have to do this a few times. Oh yeah, still got a lot of space to go. Well, that's the funny part about being efficient. How about this? Let's do another one. This is fun, just kind of poking around on what are the capabilities here. 7 multi-line. How do you handle that? How does the web page handle that? Oh, I handled it properly. Kind of. Yep, I guess. Treated it, did the proper escaping there. Not sure how the PDF's going to deal with that. Multi-line. Oh, cool. It's exciting to see stuff work. And I don't have any reason to doubt it wouldn't work, but it's still encouraging when It does. Okay. There's that one. Let's do 9. There's probably just a couple more of these should do it. And last. It's going well, John. Thanks for asking. Able to, although I've been having some stream troubles. I've just got my video back up and I've had to restart the stream because YouTube dropped it on me. So I'm not sure if that's a normal thing that I'm going to have to get used to if I'm on YouTube for streaming, but we'll see. Right now I've got my report like mostly there. Last time, the last thing that was failing was like the numbers weren't showing up. Turned out to be a font issue, so corrected that. And now I'm just kind of poking at this to like prove, well, I want to see what happens when it goes to the next page. And I don't quite have enough stuff yet. So I keep adding a bunch of things. Are you last? That will force it over the line. Hey, ooh. Was that just coincidental? Now that's interesting. Did that just break nicely? Or did it... Surely that was just a lucky break. I can't, because I don't think I put any page break controls into this thing. Well, let's try, see if we can delete this resource. Well, that one doesn't quite go over enough. Maybe it did work out, right? All right, number 9. I think that was the one I just deleted. Hello. Give it a couple lines. One more. That'd be cool if it broke on the whole section in a clean way like that. Oh, fancy. So this whole block is in a big flex box, I think, in the template. Yeah, it's a whole class. So this is one big grouping. So maybe it's seeing that as a big group and WheezyPrint is handling that well. I don't know. Either way, it seems like it's working well. There's no page number. Somebody's gonna probably ask me like, "Where's the page number?" someday, maybe. But I think this works. I think this is doing what it needs to do. It's doing enough that I think where I'm at with this is that I can put this report into the bundle and I can deploy that and turn the flag on for my spouse and let her poke around with the bundle and see if she likes this report. And if so, I can check this report off and we can move on to the next one. And on the actual issue, yeah, down here. Oh, I opened up a separate, I played with some feature like create an issue from a thing. That would be the resource report. That one would be done. Yeah, I played with this last time just to see what it would do. So we could make a new thing. Oh, tracked. Oh, there's interesting like connection. Oh, wow. GitHub, so fancy. But it doesn't show up here. It only shows up when you're on that. Okay, maybe this is used in some fancy way. I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but is it really helping? I'm not convinced. Anyway, what's next? What can we do? I think maybe the next thing to do is the tests. I think this is now at a state where, what do I have? We cleaned up the bad handling of paths. We got our new version in there. We put the comment of why we have to do this silliness. We changed how we call the CSS, and we slightly tweaked the template so that the header would fit in there. So I want to commit that because I think that's a good chunk of work done. And I'm on my branch, so that's safe to do. Get a working resource report. All right, now what? Now we should test the PDF. And thankfully this is like a straight line content thing. I do think that there might be a problem with my CI setup. So let's go to the test workflow here. The problem is pretty simple. I'm not going to have a site CSS file over there. So I might want to fake it. I don't know that I actually care to have a real site CSS file. Like this should render properly just fine if the CSS file is mostly empty, right? It'll just pick default styles. And I'm not going to do any kind of visual test inspecting that the PDF looks the way it's supposed to, so I don't really care. But when the tests run, nothing about this setup is actually creating a site file. So what I'll probably do is just put a touch a file, a site CSS file somewhere in here so it doesn't blow up. Because if I don't do that, I think this finders line will blow up during the test run. And in fact, I can do that. Let's do that. Let's first confirm. So in the static directory, I've got all these files. And if I do a git log, this is my shortcut for git log, and look at static site CSS, it's not a controlled file, so there's no history here. So I can do. How can I prove that this will blow up? First, let's remove that file. Nope, not that one. Let's remove this file. And notice there's no X, so Git doesn't care. It's a file that wasn't controlled. And then for the moment, in the dev proc file that I've got going, let's turn off the front end so it doesn't generate a new one when we restart the web server. Come up here, we'll start this, and it's just going to be the web server. When I load this page, I'm not even going to click load. I'm just going to click the generate button, because if I try and reload this page, it's going to, page won't even load. So let's do this. Yeah. It tried to get here. Type error. Oh, it got a none. Interesting. Didn't actually raise an exception. It just had a none. Huh. Okay. So that makes sense. That's what I expected it to do. Or I expected something along those lines, some kind of failure. Now we can come back here and we can restart. And this is going to generate the file. So there's our new file. So static CSS. So my local test, if I end up testing this locally, it'll be fine because I'll always have this site CSS file. In fact, it'll probably be slower because this will have real content in it. So on my CI setup, I'll want to touch a file there. And where would I put that? I would have to come before the tests. So I could, what's the best place to put that? Here's the checkout, package installation, and then it starts doing Python stuff. Let's say right here, before doing any Python stuff, name, fake build the site CSS. So run. We'll just do a touch on, it's just right at the root, so it's static site CSS. And I think that'll be sufficient to make the tests not angry when they run. If I put a comment, no, it'll be fine. Thankfully it's like just me, so it's like I can look at this and be like, okay, yeah, I need a site CSS. This is not going to be a surprise to me. So we want to test the resource report PDF, and what is the test going to be? I guess it's going to be, can I pass in context, and does it get through the other side and render? Like that's all I really care about. I don't care. I just want it to not have an exception and not be empty. So IO get value is going to have bytes. Like I'm not going to inspect that. Are you a PDF? That's just not something that I plan to do. So yeah, let's go do it. Oops. Reports, tests, and got that dashboard, which we don't need right now. This makes me question of, do I even need a separate test file for this? If all I'm doing is running through the code here. I'm thinking about what I want to do, because what would I test? Like in other tests, I would check that I am passing in the right inputs, right? So there are two things that I think about for testing a function. Is the right kind of input going in? Do I need to validate that input at all? And is the right kind of output coming out? In the case of a PDF, in unit tests, I don't care what kind of output's coming out. Like it's too challenging, or it's not worth me verifying that it looks right. It is a weakness in my test strategy. There's ways that I could do this such that that I could look like and check, did it have some of the content that was in there, but it's way more testing effort than I want to expend. So since that's the case, for my output, all I care is that I actually got some bytes, not that it's not empty. And I think I can do that pretty easily. So I do want to test for that. On the input side, because of, John, was it your idea? I don't remember who gave me the suggestion, but we ended up using a data class to define a context to make sure that the interface that is passed to the PDF report is the same interface that's used in the HTML version. So this is defined here. And because I'm using MyPy, and I type annotated this with this, I can have a high degree of confidence that the input that goes in is going to be an instance of that data class, which has to be populated with stuff that I know about, and which in turn is also type checked. So have a pretty high degree of confidence that my input going in is going to be right. So I barely care about the output. All I care is that there's some bytes in there, and I don't care about the input. So I'm not convinced that I have to really do much on this function. There's no branching logic in here. You can see it's straight top to bottom. So as long as it doesn't blow up and give me an exception, then it seems fine. So, okay. Said all that to like convince myself maybe I don't need a specific test just for this file. Furthermore, I don't want a lot of these tests because this is going to be slow. Like this is not a fast process, and it's going to slow down my test suite. So if I can avoid having a bunch of tests for this, that's also good. Which leads me to, maybe this is just, I hook it into the bundle and test it there, and that's where my test coverage comes from. So we've got our bundle, and the bundle view is right there, and this is the bundle creation process. And it's still going to be a bundle zip file. Now here's another weakness in this point of view though, is that I guess I could be asserting the, oh man, that sounds such a drag. I could essentially, if I wanted to, I could unzip the bundle in memory and look for the presence of a resource file, but I don't know. I don't want to. This is kind of the code where if I'm going to come into this code and I'm going to work on it, I know that it's not just going to change out from under me, right? Like this is still going to be baked in there as long as I get the structure right. So I don't think I need to really inspect the bundle either. So I'm not going to do that. So let's get down to it then. What do we need to do is, I think even just having this test view right here, this test get on the create bundle, is enough testing. It's going to come in here. We're going to make a resource report. So they need to hook in this make resource report to the bundle create view so it actually gets packed into the bundle. Otherwise, though, I think that that's all that's needed for testing. Okay. You're welcome to disagree with me and think that there are other things I could be testing. I'm all ears. But that's my logic anyway for why I'm not going to go crazy with unit test on this. So here we've got our create bundle. Needs a doc string. Start there. Create a bundle of year-end PDF reports. Okay. The bundle, the hardest part here might be what name. Well, there's a couple of challenging parts here. First, I need to build the context. So this context class has to come from somewhere. So I gotta look at the existing resource report and make sure I'm building the same context. That's one thing. And then I need to set a file name so that in the actual bundle, it has a sensible name. I have been thinking about the file name stuff, and it's tricky insofar as, like, the bundle, this resource report is specific to a student. Let me make that really clear. Let's look at the reports page so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, John. Like if I was in a team of different people and they didn't know what I was building, then yes, I would try a little harder to convince a teammate that yes, I did in fact put the PDF in there. But since I'm going to be the only one editing it, it's like I know exactly what I'm putting in here, and so I'm pretty confident in that. But it's a really good point. So here's our resource page, and so the bundle page is going to be a collection of, it's going to be like these two rows, because it's so this view, when it all gets bundled together, will be these three reports. There's actually a fourth report that doesn't exist yet, that is like all of the courses and all of the tasks. That's going to be the hardest report to put together because it doesn't exist at all, and I have to kind of repackage. It kind of exists in other places, but it's going to be a specialized version of this. But it's associated with a student and the year. And so the bundle name that I want to give to this, at first I'm not going to care. So I need to check with my spouse of what she wants it to be called. So I'm going to leave it as bundle.zip and let her decide what that will be, because she might have like a really strong motivation to pick something else. I have a feeling she's going to say a school year and then the actual year, but I don't know. She might want something even more specific than that. But if there are multiple, so there's going to be a resource report per student too. So that's important when as I'm building this. So there's going to be one for, in my case, both Mark and Faye. Those are the names of my kids, and there's one for each, so that I need a unique name for each of them. And since the report is focused on them, then I think I could get away with just using like student name and then resource report. Just like put the whole thing with spaces and all. Like I think a zip file archive will do just fine with that. But if I need to normalize the names and change spaces to dashes and stuff, I could do that too, but I don't think I really want to. If I can, the simpler the better. So ideally this would be something like Mark Lehman resource report. I could type resource report in .pdf. That's what I'm going for. And I can get the student name by calling stir on it. So this is an F string on the student. So let's try that. Let's go find the resource report. Apparently I can get it entirely from an enrollment, which is cool. All right, so this is going to get a little complicated. Because this is taking an enrollment ID, which is not something that I have. I'm going to have a school year. What do I have on that page? We've got a school year. All right. And then to finish off the understanding, just to make sure everybody's clear of the path we need to go through to navigate this. The school year is right here. And we have to get this enrollment model that connects the student with the grade level. The grade level, there it is. And then the grade level goes to the school year. So I can get all of the enrollments for a school year and loop through those. Yeah, I think that's the right way to go. So I'll get those enrollments and yep. And then call that resource report and pass it in multiple times. I think it all has to be done inside of this context manager of the zip file. But that's totally cool. So I think I just had this check here to get the access control, but I wasn't using it yet, so that's why there's no actual assignment. But now we're ready to use it. So this is the gate that makes sure that someone is actually accessing a year that they are the administrator for. And then once you're beyond here, as long as I'm using all the stuff in relation to the school year, it should be a safe operation to do. So now inside of the, well, I guess it doesn't have to be in the context manager. So we could do the enrollments is equal to enrollment objects filter, and this is going to go through the grade level path and do the school year, and we have that school year object. Okay. And coming down the resource report itself, it had multiple things it was also selecting. It was doing a select related on the student, the grade level, and the school year. We need to do something similar. All right, you know what, let's just take this whole chunk. We're going to need most of that. And we'll paste it here and monkey around with it until it looks right. So let's delete that stuff. Keep the select related. Drop all of that. Okay. So we've got, there are enrollments outside of there. And then coming down, we'll take the resource report in here. And then here's where we can loop through this. So we'll say for enrollment in enrollments. There's our context. And now we can pass that context into what? Into the function. Come on, Matt. Use your brain. Engage. Which is going to be, we've already imported as PDFs because I've got my test view in here somewhere. So we say, well, now let's reuse this thing and delete that zip file thing. So we want to change this to, instead of being Mark Lehman, we'll change it to be enrollment student. That's that side of it. And then the bytes is going to be the call, whoops, to PDFs make resource report with the resource report context. Okay. I think that's right. I'm hoping that's right. We're going to find out. So, with any luck, we will get in first go a resource report for both of the students that are enrolled in this school year that we've been poking at, which will include the names of my kids and then their grade levels, and it will have a properly named PDF. So I think we can fire up this. We'll come back to this reports page, and we were poking at this 21-22 school year, so let's use that bundle. So I'll create the bundle. That's got, this is promising, 79 kilobytes. Because it was the bundle that the report that we saw or were generating, these were like 29. And so if there's like that plus a little bit of overhead for the bundle, the zip archive itself, plus one for Faye, then it's probably got everything we need. Let's open this up. Bundle 4, what's in here? Awesome. It looks like trash because it's yucky data, but it rendered nicely. And it is in the bundle. And both of my kids, I set that course to be for both, so that's why it's appearing twice. That's one of the features that's available in my homeschool system, is that when you're in homeschool courses, and then maybe math is probably not a good example, but maybe like art or music or something like that is something that you might have both of your kids, or if you have multiple kids, all doing the same course and studying the same thing, especially if they're close in age, like mine are. Okay, that's really super cool. So I think that's fun. Let's get rid of this. So we know, well, I guess we don't know. Haha. let's go back to that test view. So now that we put this in, what happens here? Okay, this worked quickly, but I think that's because I didn't make any enrollment. So I have a feeling if we run this with the coverage setting on, we're actually going to have some lines uncovered because the for loop that we did, this for loop right here, is not actually going to get exercised because there's going to be no enrollments, so it's never going to actually call any of this stuff. We can check that out, confirm that, and then add an enrollment if that's the case. Yep. Not surprising. 73 and 74. 73 and 74. All right. So we need to come down to this test. And for this school year, we just need to use the enrollment factory and say grade level school year is equal to the school year. Oops. So that's just, this is a way of saying this enrollment factory is going to do a ton of work for us. It's going to create a grade level object. It's going to create an enrollment object. It's going to know that it needs a foreign key for the student. So it's going to create a student object. So it's going to go through all of that stuff, all of that data creation process. And set that up properly. And then it'll call that for loop the next time around. Should. We'll see how much slower the test run is too. There's a slow test right there. I saw it hanging. Maybe it's that PDF test. Cool. 21 seconds. 21.49. Man. This is an interesting area. So previously, let's take a look. So I've been playing around with what is the right amount of parallelization to give to my tests. And if we look at the make file, I even recorded some numbers of like what's the right amount. And you can see that just because you have more CPUs doesn't mean it's actually faster. But there's like some inflection points in here, whereas like no parallelism was slower than having 2, but having 4 was slower than having 2. So as I start to run these tests with PDFs and stuff that do take more time for an individual thing, it could be the way PyTest works is it fans out to different processes. And if one process is chunking away on generating a PDF, which I imagine is pretty resource intensive to go through all of that computation and building, then having extra workers work on the other stuff might help keep the test time down. So we can poke on this. It's also interesting to me that this is set to 4 right now. And look, when it was at 515 tests, it was 13 seconds. But now this could also be, I am streaming too, and my computer, I can hear it. The fan, thankfully you can't hear it, but the fan is struggling. So it could be that these numbers are all skewed by the fact that I'm also trying to process video and upload it to YouTube. So maybe I won't think too hard about this actually. So let's do this. Let's finish this off with, we now have the test working as we think it should. I've got enrollment up there. I think it's time to put this up as a pull request and see how good it is. And then if it's good enough, I might just go ahead and merge it so that I can deploy it and use the feature flag and show my spouse the work in progress and get her input. And then we can use that feedback for next time. I think that'd be a great endpoint for the evening to get all of that done. so let's commit this. And we'll say, what is this doing? This is connecting connect the resource report PDF to the bundle creation. All right, and then we want to create a new pull request, which I'm using hub to be able to do that from the command line. And let's see, start PDF bundle. I think that all of that content is in here. It's only 4 commits. That's crazy. It's represented over a bunch of different streams. And here we go. So while CI is running in the corner, it'll take a minute. We can actually review what all went into this. So we are modifying CI to have this site CSS file. We're including a new set of PDFs to the dashboard. That's that tool that I was using to generate all these reports over and over again, which we will come back to. That page, we'll add more to that page in the future to continue to make it useful. That's been a good help so far. Here is our context that we need for the resource report, the data class, and then I have a class method that builds the context from a particular enrollment, which is a helpful convenience method for putting that together quickly. Here are the actual URLs. We have that dashboard that does the work that, the page, well, it's type error right now, but the page that actually allowed us to just click the generate button, and then the resource report itself is there. Here's where we spent the lion's share of our time putting together this function and learning how to use WheezyPrint and learning how to blend it with the context and get the CSS all right and writing the bytes out for the zip file. Here's our test case for the dashboard. It just makes sure that only people that have staff access can actually get to it, so that people can't just generate somebody else's data willy-nilly. There is our bundle test. So I had the actual bundle view in a previous commit, so there's only one change to the test. There wasn't much of a new test there. We've got the access control tests on the resource report page, which is good. And then we're getting down into like the views themselves. Some imports. Those all are fine, I'm sure. And pre-commit would correct me if I was wrong. So we now have our PDFs kind of tool library that's going to do the work. We have the context that goes with it. Here's that dashboard page that we were using. Here's the bundle page connected with the resource report. That's the work we just did. This is the page that actually just builds any old resource report for our perusal. It's got the staff member required decorator. That's the most important element on it. And then we replace the old view with the context. So this is where we get the reuse aspect of this. So PDFs and the view are using exactly the same data. That's going to be important to keep this updated and consistent. We've ignored WheezyPrint with MyPy, added to our dashboard. Here's the PDF's dashboard template. It's a pretty simple, straightforward template. We'll add, for each new report that I'm going to add, there will be basically a new block like this that will take some kind of ID that will allow us to quickly generate a report. And then this is our template that actually gets passed through WheezyPrint, where there's not much to it. The regroup is probably the most interesting thing on there. So that all looks good to me. I like doing the code review of my own stuff. Again, this is just me, so this is I got to treat it as if I'm, it's actually been weeks since I've seen some of that code, so it's probably good to refresh it and make sure I didn't leave any print statements in there and take a look at that kind of stuff. It's a good, sane policy. And looks like that ran and finished just in time. Oh, I've still got the dot, but the stuff finished down here. So I think we'll squash it and merge it, and we'll call it from there. After the stream is over, I'm gonna deploy this stuff and run it by my spouse the next day or two. I guess there's a feature flag on that, right? I'm pretty positive there is, but let's just check. So this is the reports dashboard, reports index. Yeah, there it is. So it only shows if I have that flag on. So I can turn that on for my spouse, let her see it, let her try it out, and then I can iterate from there. So I got a good feedback loop too. Thanks for joining in. I'll be back. No, I won't be back next week. I'm gonna be going to a local Python meetup next week. So a couple weeks from now, we'll get back to this. We'll try the next report. Hopefully this will become a quick and easy process too. Now that we've gone through all the mechanics of how to do it, it's going to be a very similar thing of make a template, feed it to WheezyPrint, make one of these contexts and functions. We might do a little bit of work to generalize this function because as I'm looking at this, there is really almost nothing unique about it. We'll have to be careful with the MyPy annotations of what goes into it, but that'll be fun stuff to deal with. This content should be posted up on YouTube. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this on YouTube because it's actually 2 different streams this evening. One where I did not have video and was having difficulties with other stuff, and that was the debugging half. This was like the victory lap half where we actually got something working. Hopefully you found this useful. Thanks for joining in. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, all that jazz that they say to do on YouTube, so that others can find this content. And I appreciate your feedback this evening. Hope you all learned something, and I'll see you next time. Take care.